In the beginning there were words that were never meant to be spoken, scrolls that were hidden, truths that were buried beneath the sands of time, locked away in chambers where light could not reach. And among these forbidden texts, there is one that stands apart from all others. A book so dangerous, so profound, that it was erased from the canon, removed from the hands of the faithful, and condemned to the shadows. Its name is whispered only by those who seek the mysteries beyond the veil. The Book of Enoch. But what was written in those ancient pages that terrified the gatekeepers of spiritual knowledge? What secret was so powerful that it had to be concealed from humanity for 2,000 years? And why does this hidden message hold the key to understanding not just the cosmos, but the very essence of who you are? Before we journey into the forbidden depths of this ancient manuscript, I invite you to stand with those who seek truth beyond the surface. If this revelation stirs something within your soul, press the like button below. And if you desire to walk further along this path of hidden wisdom, subscribe to this channel and activate the bell so you may be notified when the next seal is broken and the next mystery is revealed. Now let us descend into the sacred darkness where the light of Enoch still burns. Imagine a world before the flood, a time when the earth was young and the veil between heaven and earth was thin. In those days there walked a man who did not taste death. His name was Enoch, the seventh from Adam, and the scriptures tell us that he walked with God, and then he was not, for God took him. But what happened in those years when Enoch walked between worlds? What did he see in the heavenly realms that mortal eyes were never meant to witness? The answer lies in the book that bears his name, a text written in the first person, a testimony from one who crossed the threshold and returned with knowledge that would shake the foundations of religious understanding. The Book of Enoch is not merely a historical curiosity. It is a cosmic map, a spiritual blueprint, a mirror held up to the human soul that reveals what we truly are beneath the layers of flesh and forgetfulness. For centuries, this text was preserved by the Ethiopian Orthodox Church, hidden away in monasteries carved into mountain stone, guarded by monks who understood that some knowledge burns too brightly for unprepared eyes. When European scholars finally discovered complete manuscripts in the 18th century, they were astonished. Here was a text that predated Christianity, that influenced the language of the New Testament, that was quoted by the early church fathers, and yet it had been deliberately excluded from the biblical canon. Why? What was the church afraid the people would discover? The book opens with a vision of judgment, a prophecy of the coming of the Lord with 10,000s of his saints to execute judgment upon the ungodly. But this is only the surface. Beneath this apocalyptic imagery lies a story that explains the origin of evil, the nature of consciousness, and the true identity of humanity. Enoch describes how he was taken up into the heavens, how he saw the throne of the Most High surrounded by fire and light, how he witnessed the angels in their hierarchies, and how he learned the secrets of creation that were kept from other mortals. But the most disturbing revelation, the one that caused religious authorities to suppress this text, concerns the Watchers. The Watchers were a group of angels, 200 in number, who descended to Mount Hermon in the days of Jared, the father of Enoch. They came down because they desired the daughters of men. They found them beautiful, and they made a pact among themselves, binding themselves by mutual curses, to take human wives and produce offspring. Their leader was Semjaza, and among their chiefs were Azazel, Armaros, Barachiel, and others whose names echo with ancient power. These angels taught humanity forbidden knowledge. Azazel taught men to make swords and knives and shields, and he taught women the art of cosmetics and jewelry and dyes. Armaros taught the resolving of enchantments. Barachiel taught astrology. Kokabiel taught the constellations. And others taught the cutting of roots, the signs of the earth, the signs of the sun and moon, and all manner of hidden wisdom. This was the original sin, according to Enoch. Not the eating of a fruit in a garden, but the premature transmission of divine knowledge to humanity before we were ready to bear its weight. The offspring of these unions between angels and human women were the Nephilim, giants of tremendous size and terrible appetite. who consumed all that humanity could produce, and then turned to consuming humanity itself. The earth groaned under their violence. Blood cried out from the ground. And the archangels, Michael, Gabriel, Raphael, and Uriel, brought the cries of humanity before the throne of the Most High. The judgment was swift and absolute. The watchers were to be bound in the valleys of the earth until the day of final judgment. The Nephilim were to destroy each other in mutual slaughter, and though their physical bodies would perish, their spirits would become the evil spirits that roam the earth, tormenting humanity until the end of days. And the flood would come to cleanse the earth of the corruption that had spread from this forbidden mingling of heaven and earth. But here is where the hidden message begins to emerge, the truth that was too radical for the religious establishments to allow the masses to understand. Enoch is chosen to be the messenger between the watchers and the throne of God. He is the intercessor, the one who stands in the gap. And in this role, he ascends through the heavens, passing through realm after realm, witnessing the mechanics of the cosmos, the storehouses of the winds, the chambers of the hail, the paths of the stars, the gates through which the sun and moon pass, the abysses where fallen spirits are kept, and finally the throne room itself, where he stands before the Ancient of Days. There, in that supreme moment of mystical encounter, Enoch is transformed. He is given understanding. He is shown the tablets of heaven where all deeds are recorded. He is taught the calendar by which the cosmos operates. He is made into something more than human, a bridge between the material and the spiritual, a prototype of what humanity is meant to become. This is the hidden message. You are not merely flesh and blood. You are not simply an animal with consciousness. You are a being of cosmic significance, a creature designed to walk between worlds, to contain both earth and heaven within your being. The story of the Watchers is not just ancient history. It is a metaphor for the human condition, for the way divine consciousness descended into matter, became trapped in physical form, and now struggles to remember its origin. The Nephilim represent the hybrid nature of human existence, the constant tension between our animal impulses and our spiritual yearning. And the flood represents the cycles of destruction and renewal that the soul must undergo in order to purify itself and return to its source. But there is more. In the later sections of the Book of Enoch, particularly in what scholars call the parables or similitudes, there is a figure who appears repeatedly, a being called the Son of Man, the Chosen One, the Anointed One, the Righteous One. This figure sits upon a throne of glory, and his face is full of grace like one of the holy angels. He will judge the kings and the mighty, and he will reveal hidden wisdom. He will liberate the oppressed and vindicate the righteous. And Enoch is told that this Son of Man existed before the creation of the world, that his name was named before the Lord of Spirits before the sun, and the signs were created, before the stars of heaven were made. This is a pre-existent messianic figure, a cosmic redeemer who transcends time itself. Now here is where the message becomes personal, where it pierces through the veil of history and speaks directly to your soul in this present moment. Enoch himself is identified with this Son of Man. In a startling mystical transformation, Enoch is told, "You are the Son of Man." The scribe becomes the Savior. The prophet becomes the archetype. And if Enoch, a mortal man who walked the earth, could be transformed into the Son of Man, what does that say about your potential? What does that say about the divine spark that sleeps within your consciousness, waiting to be awakened? The early Christians recognized this. They saw in Enoch a prefiguration of Christ. They understood that the Book of Enoch was describing the process of theosis, the transformation of the human into the divine, the ascent of the soul through the heavens until it reaches the throne and is clothed in the garments of glory. This is why the Epistle of Jude quotes the Book of Enoch directly, calling it prophecy. This is why the early church fathers like Tertullian and Origen revered this text. But as Christianity became institutionalized, as it became a religion of control rather than transformation, the Book of Enoch became dangerous It suggested that direct mystical experience was possible, that intermediaries were not necessary, that every person carried within themselves the potential to become the Son of Man, to stand before the throne, to be transformed by the glory of the Ancient of Days. So the book was suppressed. It was declared apocryphal, non-canonical, not suitable for the faithful. But truth cannot be destroyed, only hidden. And in the caves of Qumran, among the Dead Sea Scrolls, fragments of the Book of Enoch were found, proving that this text was studied and revered by the Essenes, the mystical community that many scholars believe gave birth to both John the Baptist and perhaps even Jesus himself. They understood that Enoch was not just a prophet of the past, but a map of the future, a description of the path that every awakened soul must walk. Let us go deeper into the symbolism, for this is where the message truly changes everything about how you understand yourself. Enoch describes his journey through 10 heavens. In the first heaven, he sees the waters above the firmament and the angels who govern the winds and clouds. In the second, he sees the fallen angels who are kept in darkness awaiting judgment. In the third heaven, he sees the Garden of Eden and the Tree of Life, but also the place of torment where the unrighteous are punished. As he ascends, the heavens become more glorious, more filled with light, more incomprehensible to mortal understanding. By the seventh heaven, he is among the archangels. By the 10th, he stands before the throne itself, and the experience is so overwhelming that he falls on his face, unable to bear the glory. This is the journey of consciousness. The 10 heavens are not literal places in the sky. They are states of awareness, levels of spiritual realization that the soul must pass through in its return to the source. The fallen angels in the second heaven represent the shadow aspects of your own psyche, the parts of yourself that you have rejected, that have fallen from grace, that must be acknowledged and integrated. The Garden of Eden in the third heaven is the state of original innocence, the pure consciousness before the fragmentation of self. And the throne room in the 10th heaven is the ultimate reality, the ground of being, the consciousness that exists before and beyond all creation. When Enoch stands before the throne, he is told to look at the books, the tablets of heaven where everything is recorded. He sees the deeds of every generation until the end of time. This is the Akashic records, the cosmic memory, the understanding that nothing is ever lost, that every thought, every action, every moment is preserved in the eternal now. And Enoch is given the task of being the scribe, of writing down what he has seen so that future generations might know the truth. But notice what happens. As Enoch writes, he is transformed. The act of recording divine truth changes him at a fundamental level. His consciousness expands. His body becomes luminous. He is no longer fully human in the ordinary sense, but he has not ceased to be human either. He has become what humanity is meant to be, a bridge, a mediator, a God in the making. This is the Hermetic principle, as above, so below. What happens in the macrocosm is reflected in the microcosm. The journey that Enoch takes through the heavens is the same journey that your consciousness can take through the layers of your own being. The fallen angels are your own fallen aspects. The Nephilim are your own hybrid nature, part animal, part divine. The flood is the cleansing that must come when you face the truth about yourself, when you allow the old structures of identity to be washed away so that something new can be born. And the throne room is the center of your own awareness, the still point where the observer and the observed collapse into one. But there is a warning woven throughout the Book of Enoch, a message about the danger of premature knowledge. The Watchers fell because they gave humanity secrets before humanity was ready. They taught magic and technology and astrology to people who did not have the wisdom to use these tools properly. And the result was catastrophe. This is the eternal tension, the razor's edge that every seeker must walk. Knowledge without wisdom is destruction. Power without compassion is tyranny. The divine spark within you is real, but if it is awakened before you have developed the character to contain it, it will consume you. This is why the mystery schools of the ancient world, the Egyptian temples, the Greek mysteries, the Gnostic circles, the Kabbalistic traditions, all had stages of initiation. You could not learn the deeper secrets until you had proven yourself worthy, until you had undergone the trials, until your soul had been purified in the fires of self-confrontation. The Book of Enoch is itself a form of initiation. To read it is to be challenged, to understand it is to be changed, and to embody its message is to walk the path that Enoch walked, the path from human to divine, from sleep to awakening, from death to life. Now, we must address the most controversial and transformative part of the hidden message, the part that speaks directly to your identity in this present moment. The Book of Enoch describes a war in heaven, a conflict that predates the creation of humanity, a struggle between the forces of light and the forces that desired autonomy from the divine will. The Watchers were not evil in the beginning. They were glorious beings, sons of God, Bene Elohim, members of the divine council. Their fall was not a descent into wickedness but a choice to experience form, to know limitation, to taste the fruit of individuality and separation. And their offspring, the Nephilim, were not monsters in the simple sense. They were powerful, they were knowledgeable, they were gifted with abilities beyond ordinary humans, but they lacked integration, they lacked balance, and so they became destructive. Here is the revelation. You are a child of the Watchers. Not literally, not in the genetic sense, although there are esoteric traditions that argue even for that, but spiritually, archetypally, you carry within your consciousness both the divine awareness that the Watchers brought from heaven and the earthly limitation that they embraced when they descended into matter. You are the Nephilim, the giant soul trapped in a small body, the infinite consciousness compressed into a finite form, the eternal being experiencing time. And this creates the fundamental suffering of human existence, the sense that you are not who you are supposed to be, that you are living beneath your potential, that there is something more, something greater, something that you have forgotten. The Book of Enoch says that the spirits of the Nephilim, after their bodies were destroyed, became the demons that torment humanity. But what if demons are not external entities? What if they are the fragmented aspects of your own consciousness, the voices in your head that tell you that you are not enough, that you are separate, that you are alone, that you must struggle and compete and dominate in order to survive? What if the exorcism that you need is not of evil spirits, but of false beliefs, limiting identities, unconscious patterns that keep you trapped in a smaller version of yourself? Enoch is shown that there will be a final judgment, a day when the Watchers will be released from their prison in the valleys of the earth, when all secrets will be revealed, when the righteous will be vindicated and the wicked will be condemned. But again, do not read this only as external prophecy. The judgment is happening now, in every moment, in the court of your own consciousness. Every time you make a choice, you are judging yourself. Every time you act from love or from fear, you are creating your own heaven or hell. The apocalypse is not a future event. It is the unveiling, the revelation, the lifting of the veil that separates you from the truth of your own being. And what is that truth? The truth is that you are not separate from God. You are not a sinner groveling before a distant deity, hoping for mercy. You are a hologram of the divine, a fractal expression of infinite consciousness, a unique and irreplaceable note in the cosmic symphony. The distance you feel from the divine is not real. It is a perceptual illusion created by the descent into matter, by the identification with the body and the ego, by the forgetting that necessarily happens when the infinite pours itself into the finite. But the forgetting is not permanent. The exile is not eternal. The return is always possible. Enoch shows you how. He walked with God. This simple phrase contains the entire path. To walk with God is not to follow religious rules or perform rituals or believe correct doctrines. It is to live in conscious alignment with the deepest truth of reality. It is to recognize the sacred in every moment. It is to see through the illusion of separation and act from the awareness that all things are one. Enoch walked, meaning he moved, he progressed, he journeyed. Spirituality is not static. It is not a destination you arrive at. It is a continuous unfolding, a constant deepening, an eternal opening into more and more of what is. Consider the calendar that Enoch teaches. He describes in great detail the movements of the sun and moon, the seasons and their cycles, the proper calculation of days and years. The religious authorities who suppressed the Book of Enoch claimed this material was irrelevant, that it was simply ancient astronomy with no spiritual value. But they missed the point entirely. The calendar is not about timekeeping. It is about attunement. To understand the cycles is to live in harmony with the cosmos, to know when to plant and when to harvest, when to act and when to rest, when to speak and when to be silent. This is wisdom. The modern world has severed you from these rhythms. You live by artificial time, by schedules imposed from without, by the demands of systems that do not care about your soul. And this disconnection is a form of spiritual violence, a cutting off from the source that leaves you exhausted, depleted, empty. The Book of Enoch calls you back to the sacred order. It reminds you that you are not a machine, that you are an organic being embedded in a living cosmos, that you have natural cycles of energy and consciousness that need to be honored. When you ignore these cycles, when you push against the natural order, you create suffering for yourself and others. But when you learn to flow with the rhythms, when you align your will with the greater will, when you surrender your small agenda to the cosmic intelligence that moves through all things, then life becomes effortless, graceful, filled with synchronicity and meaning. There is a section of the Book of Enoch called the Dream Visions, where Enoch recounts symbolic dreams that contain the entire history of the world from the flood to the Messianic age. He sees animals representing nations and individuals. He witnesses wars and oppressions. He watches the rise and fall of kingdoms, and throughout it all, there is a guiding hand, a providence that ensures that despite all the chaos and violence, the story is moving toward redemption. This is the vision of hope that the Book of Enoch offers. No matter how dark the times, no matter how fallen the world appears, there is a pattern unfolding, a plan that comprehends all the suffering and transforms it into wisdom, all the evil, and transmutes it into good. But you must play your part. You are not a passive observer of this cosmic drama. You are a co-creator. Your choices matter. Your consciousness matters. Every thought you think sends ripples through the field of reality. Every action you take shapes the future. The question is not whether you have power, but whether you will use it consciously or unconsciously. Whether you will act from the awakened Son of Man within you, or from the sleeping animal that reacts to stimuli without awareness. Enoch was chosen not because he was perfect, but because he was willing. He was willing to see, to know, to bear the burden of understanding. Most people prefer the comfort of ignorance, the safety of the familiar, the predictability of the conditioned life. They do not want to question their beliefs, to challenge their identities, to face the abyss of unknowing that lies beneath all certainty. But you are not most people. If you have followed this message to this point, if something within you has resonated with these ancient words, then you are being called, just as Enoch was called, to wake up, to step out of the trance of consensus reality, to walk the path of transformation. The hidden message in the Book of Enoch is ultimately very simple, and yet it changes everything. You are divine. You are eternal. You are one with all that is. But you have forgotten this truth, and the forgetting is necessary for the game of existence to be played, for free will to be real, for love to be meaningful. Now the time has come to remember. Not through belief, not through doctrine, but through direct experience, through the mystical encounter that Enoch describes, through the ascent of consciousness that is available to every soul that seeks it with sincerity and courage. The religious authorities who suppressed the Book of Enoch were afraid of this message because it empowers the individual. It says that you do not need a priest to mediate between you and the divine. It says that you do not need a church to tell you what to believe. It says that the kingdom of heaven is within you, that the throne room is in your own heart, that the Ancient of Days is the deepest part of your own consciousness, the witness that watches all, the awareness that cannot be touched by time or change or death. This is the gnosis, the direct knowing, that transforms you from a believer into a knower, from a seeker into a finder, from a sleeper into one who is awake. And so we come to the end of this revelation, but it is not truly an end, only a beginning. The book of Enoch is not a closed text, it is an open door. Every time you read it, you will see something new, understand something deeper, discover another layer of meaning. This is the nature of sacred scripture, of texts that come from the mystical consciousness. They are alive. They adapt to your level of understanding. They meet you where you are and take you where you need to go. If you have felt the call, if something has stirred within your soul during this journey through the forbidden wisdom of Enoch, then do not let this moment pass without action. Press the like button to seal this transmission in the field of collective awareness. Subscribe to this channel so that you may continue to receive the hidden teachings as they are unveiled. And share this message with those who are ready to hear it, for the time of great awakening is upon us, and every soul that wakes up brings the whole of humanity closer to the transformation that has been prophesied since the beginning. The book of Enoch ends with a vision of the new heaven and the new earth, where the righteous dwell in light and peace, where the tree of life grows and provides healing for all nations, where God dwells among humanity and wipes away every tear. This is not fantasy. This is not wishful thinking. This is the promise encoded in the fabric of reality itself. You are moving toward this, whether you know it or not, whether you resist it or embrace it. The only question is how long the journey will take, how much suffering will be required before you surrender to the truth, how many lifetimes you will wander in exile before you remember that you are already home. Enoch walked with God, and he was not, for God took him. May you also walk this path. May you also be taken up. May you also become the Son of Man, the bearer of divine consciousness in human form, the light that shines in the darkness and cannot be overcome. The secret is no longer hidden. The seal has been broken. The message has been delivered. Now it is written upon the tablets of your heart, and nothing will ever be the same. Go forth and embody the truth. Go forth and become who you have always been. Go forth and remember. For you are Enoch, and Enoch is you, and together we are the awakening of God within the dream of matter, the return of heaven to earth, the fulfillment of the ancient prophecy that was hidden in plain sight, waiting for this moment, waiting for you.